Take care of the blind son of Mrs. Worthington. You're just a cleaner, after all," teased Diane's co-workers, laughing at her in the break room. Maybe if his son saw you, he'd go even blinder. Diane took a deep breath, swallowing the humiliation because she needed the money to support her sick father. In the corner of the room, Mrs. Worthington quietly observed. The next day, Diane was summoned. "I chose you. Out of everyone, you're the one with a true heart," said Mrs. Worthington, handing her a contract along with $3 million. But Diane didn't expect the face of Mrs. Worthington's son, a handsome, angelic figure, standing before her. Let's start from the beginning. Monday morning dawned, and Diane arrived early at the hospital, carrying an old backpack and a thermos of hot water. It was only 5 a.m., but she was already in her blue uniform, gripping the mop like a weapon in her daily battle with life. "Good morning, Miss Diane," greeted a young boy in the pediatric ward. She smiled. "Good morning, Timmy. How are you feeling? You seem full of energy today. Are you doing better?" "Much better," he replied. "The doctor says I might go home next week. I'm so excited." "That's great to hear. All right, I'll clean your room to keep it fresh." She approached the boy's bed, gently tucking in the sheets before starting to mop. It wasn't just Timmy who appreciated her at the hospital. Even the stern nurses and doctors often smiled at Diane's natural kindness and attentiveness. She was the kind of person who, despite being exhausted, still found the strength to smile and listen. "Diane, can you clean room 508? Mrs. Cecilia requested you. She doesn't want the other janitor, says she's too grumpy," said a nursing aide. "Sure, I'll take care of it," Diane replied, wiping down a window. But what no one knew was that behind her smile was an empty stomach. During break time, while her co-workers ate their packed lunches, Diane sat quietly in the break room, sipping hot water from her thermos and nibbling on leftover crackers from her pocket. "Hey Diane, no lunch again?" teased a co-worker. "Just dieting," she joked with a smile, though her stomach growled. She had no choice but to save money. She was processing paperwork through an agency to work as a factory worker in California. She wanted to escape the endless struggle, to live a life not tethered to a mop and bucket. It had been her dream since high school. Orphaned and abandoned by relatives who saw her as a burden, Diane had been on her own since she was young. "We can't take care of you, Diane. We have our own kids," her aunt had said. So, Diane learned to fend for herself. She worked as a student, sold vegetables at the farmer's market, did laundry for neighbors, and after graduating high school, landed a contractual janitorial job at St. Raphael Medical Center in Chicago. The work wasn't easy. Besides standing all day, she was expected to be cheerful, clean, and meticulous, even when her hands were raw from cleaning chemicals. Some nights, she couldn't sleep due to the pain in her calloused feet and shoulders. Once, while cleaning the ICU wing, she collapsed on the floor, her stomach aching from hunger, her knees weak. "Diane, you okay?" asked a security guard. "I'm fine, just got dizzy for a second," she said, forcing herself to stand despite her trembling body. When she got home to her rented studio apartment, there was no hot meal, waiting, just a can of sardines and cold rice, yet she never complained to God. Every night she knelt on her old mat, clutching her late mother's rosary. "Lord, a little more patience. I know brighter days are coming," she whispered before closing her eyes. The next day she was cleaning private rooms on the 7th floor. While wiping the floor, an elderly woman in a wheelchair approached, her face kind yet commanding. "Miss, what's your name?" she asked. "Diane, ma'am," she replied. The woman asked more questions. "How long have you been working here?" "Almost 2 years, ma'am," Diane answered politely. The woman studied her silently. "Don't you ever get tired?" Diane smiled. "Of course I get tired, but it's harder to be jobless. I'm grateful even when I'm exhausted." The woman nodded. "That's a good answer. I've noticed patients always choose you. They say you're kind and hard-working." Diane scratched the back of her neck, embarrassed. "It's nothing, ma'am. As long as their surroundings are clean, I'm happy." The woman left without another word, but her presence lingered heavily in Diane's mind. Unbeknownst to her, that woman was Mrs. Eleanor Worthington, one of the wealthiest and most prominent benefactors of the hospital. That afternoon in the break room, Diane overheard her co-workers bullying again. "Diane, you talked to Mrs. Worthington earlier. Wow, maybe you'll be her rich friend, or her maid. Suits you since you're used to cleaning." They sneered. The room fell silent. The words stung, but Diane was used to such taunts. She shook her head and continued washing dishes, a tear falling onto her hand. She didn't care what others thought. She worked for herself, for a dream of a life where she wouldn't have to beg for opportunities. In her locker was a pinned photo of a factory and a cityscape labeled California. Hope, change. On the back, a note from a former co-worker who'd made it there. "Diane, you can do this. Don't give up. The pay here is triple what you make as a janitor. You can save, buy a house. Just finish your papers and medicals. Almost there." But that almost felt like a million miles away, especially when her stomach was empty and she had to choose between eating or paying for photocopies of her documents. Yet through it all, Diane held on to her resolve. She never cheated her hours, never grew lazy, and never became bitter. To her, every failure wasn't defeat, as long as she could still pray before bed. With every drop of disinfectant she poured, it was as if she cleansed the weight in her heart. She didn't know that on that ordinary day, a pair of eyes quietly watched her, a pair belonging to an elderly woman who wondered how someone so overlooked could shine so brightly in this world. And so began Diane's story, a simple woman who, behind her exhaustion and tears, had a heart ready to love, care, and trust in the miracle to come. At the top of Worthington Tower in downtown Chicago, a striking man stood by the glass window of his office, gazing at the city lights. Dressed in a white long-sleeve shirt, rolled up to his elbows, black slacks, and an expensive watch, he had a calm face, sharp eyes, and a playful curve to his lips. This was Ryan Worthington, 31, bachelor, young CEO, and heir to a multi-billion-dollar corporation, spanning real estate, hospitals, food chains, and construction across the U.S. The only child of Mrs. Eleanor Worthington and businessman Mr. Arthur Worthington, pillars of Chicago's old money elite, Ryan was known for his focus and quiet demeanor, preferring work over parties. Many women vied for his attention whenever his name appeared in the business section of the Chicago Tribune, but no one had ever been linked to him romantically. "Sir Ryan, board meeting in 15 minutes, his assistant whispered. "Thanks, Camille. I'm ready," he replied, returning to his desk, where figures and proposals glowed on his monitor. They were in the final stages of an investment proposal for St. Raphael Medical Center, a mid-sized hospital they aimed to make a pilot site for a public-private hospital program. This wasn't just business for them, it was personal. That evening, in the elegant dining room of the Worthington residence in Lake Forest, the family dined together. At the center of a long modern table laden with gourmet dishes, roast beef, grilled salmon, mushroom risotto, and a half-drunk bottle of wine, the meal was quiet and refined, as was their custom. Mrs. Eleanor, in a floral silk robe, listened happily to the father-son conversation. "So the offshore fund is doing well?" Arthur asked, scooping mashed potatoes. "Yes, Dad, but I'm shifting some capital toward the hospital deal," Ryan replied, studying his wine glass. "Ah, St. Raphael Medical Center, your mum's favorite hospital. Arthur said with a smile. Mrs. Eleanor nodded. Not just favorite, it's important to me. That place saved my life. She paused, her voice softening. It's where we named our only son, Raphael. Ryan nodded. Actually, we're closing the deal soon. We plan to expand the ICU wing, renovate the pediatric and OB departments, and add an HR component for staff benefits. Mrs. Eleanor perked up. I hope it moves quickly. It'll help so many, especially the clerks, janitors, and utility workers. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Mum, why the sudden interest in them? Mrs. Eleanor smiled faintly. There's this new janitor I saw. I don't know her name, but I watched her cleaning the 7th floor. Quiet, diligent, caring. She doesn't rush, even when no one's watching. Father and son exchanged glances. I don't know, Ryan, but it made me realize it's not just nurses and doctors who make a hospital. The silent workers, they make healing possible too. They deserve dignity, fair wages, benefits. Arthur leaned back. Tomorrow's your first anniversary of remission, love. You're just sentimental. Mrs. Eleanor laughed. Maybe I am, but there's nothing wrong with that, is there? Ryan stayed quiet, secretly moved by his mother's words. Despite her aristocratic air, Mrs. Eleanor always had a humane heart, caring for those often unnoticed. Let's make sure we include that in the HR restructuring plan. Clerks, aides, janitors, Ryan said, eating. After a moment of silence, Arthur shifted the topic. Ryan, when are you planning to settle down? Both parents chuckled. Ryan, used to the question, smiled and shook his head. Not yet, Dad. What about us, your mom and me? We're getting old. Our grandkids might be bald before you give us a daughter-in-law. Ryan glanced at his watch and stood quietly. I have a call with a client from Singapore. Excuse me. He left the dining room, phone in hand. Mrs. Eleanor sighed, watching the door he exited. Poor Ryan, always so quiet, always working, she whispered. Arthur replied, Let him be. When he's ready, it'll come. Maybe he doesn't just need a business partner, but a life partner. Mrs. Eleanor remained silent, but deep down, she had a hunch her son needed someone who matched his heart, not his wealth, a woman with compassion, resolve, and natural goodness. In a hospital they'd long overlooked in their business portfolio, she saw a glimmer of hope, a janitor with a unique presence. She had no plans to play matchmaker, but she felt that opportunities sometimes arrived in the most ordinary forms, and her son Ryan, who never wavered in his strength and responsibility, might just be ready to be vulnerable and love. Diane woke early the next day, her body accustomed to the routine. She washed her face, prayed kneeling by her mat, and packed instant noodles in an old ice cream container. At St. Raphael Medical Center, a cool breeze greeted her. The sky was overcast, hinting at rain. A nursing aide approached. Diane, can you cover the 5th floor? The charity ward's busy today and needs extra cleaning help. Diane smiled, despite her fatigue. No problem, I'm on it. With her mop, bucket, and rag, she began working. At the hospital, Diane was known as the kind janitor, not just for her diligence but because she never complained. Many patients shared how she made them laugh while cleaning or quietly prayed in rooms with critical cases. Diane, there you are again, said Mr. Roger, an elderly diabetic patient confined for 3 weeks. You know I wait for you. You're the only one who cleans with a prayer. Diane chuckled. Mr. Roger, your medicine's probably more effective than my prayers. It's the same thing, dear, he replied. Don't ever change. Behind her smile, Diane carried a weight in her chest. All day she kept her old flip phone in her pocket, waiting for a call from the agency about her job in California. A former co-worker, also a janitor, had given her the contact. Diane, the pay in California is great. Air-conditioned factories, dorms, overtime pay. You can do it. Determined to start anew, Even as an orphan with no family to return to, Diane pressed on with her plan, a promise to herself. I'll make it. My life will get better. While making a bed on the 6th floor, her phone rang. Her heart raced with joy. Agency calling. She rushed to the fire exit to answer, her breath heavy with anticipation. "Hello, Mom," she said, almost shouting. "Hi, Diane. Good morning. I'm calling to update you on your paperwork," the voice said. Diane swallowed hard. "Is there a departure date yet, Mom?" "Actually, Diane, I'm sorry. Your application was disapproved. There's a discrepancy in your birth certificate and there's still a pending verification with the agency." The world seemed to stop. Diane couldn't speak. No words, no tears, just trembling hands. "You can't leave this year, but maybe the next batch once you fix the documents." "Hello, Diane," the voice asked. "Yes, I understand." "Thank you," she replied softly, ending the call. She sat on the stairs, fighting back sobs. Here in this hospital where she started, it felt like she was going nowhere. I did everything. Why isn't it enough? Meanwhile, in the hospital's admin building conference room, Ryan Worthington signed the final partnership agreement for St. Raphael Medical Center. Beside him, board members and administrators exchanged congratulations. "This partnership will change lives," the hospital director said. Ryan gave a faint smile, unaccustomed to praise. To him, this was just part of a bigger plan. As he walked out toward the basement parking, he noticed a woman crouched on the stairs, hugging herself, a janitor with tear-streaked eyes. He paused, recalling his mother's words. "I saw a janitor. I don't know her name, but she's diligent, quiet, caring. It's not just doctors who make a hospital, Ryan. Remember that." He lingered for a moment, watching her. He didn't approach, but in his quiet way, he affirmed his decision to push the investment. People like her depended on it. As he left the building, rain poured heavily. "Sir, are you sure we're driving to Springfield?" his driver asked, shielding him with an umbrella. "I have to be there. Can't miss the meeting. Let's go." Inside the car, he called his mother. "Mum, I just closed the deal." "That's great news, son. I'm so proud," Mrs. Eleanor replied, her voice joyful. "You were right. The hospital needs this." Ryan paused. "Soon, Mom. I promise I'll visit more often." But amidst their laughter and brief chat, the windshield wipers sped up. The rain intensified. A loud crash followed. A truck had collided with the left side of their car. The driver shouted, "Sir, there's a truck!" The vehicle spun, rain and sirens blending. On the other end of the call, Mrs. Eleanor heard only static. "Ralph, are you still there?" she cried, hands trembling, tears welling. In St. Raphael Medical Center's operating room, silence prevailed. Only the doctor's urgent commands, the machines aiding the patient's breathing, and the rain outside were audible. Ryan lay unconscious on the operating table, with deep wounds, internal bleeding, and severe head trauma. His driver had been operated on and was safe in recovery, but Ryan's condition was critical, literally 1 foot in the grave. Outside the operating room, Mrs. Eleanor and Mr. Arthur paced for hours. Mrs. Eleanor clutched a gold rosary, the same one she held when diagnosed with breast cancer years ago. "Arthur, why is it taking so long?" Her voice cracked. He held her. "Ryan's strong. He'll make it." But even Arthur felt the fear gripping the hospital. Nurses approached, but no concrete updates came. Finally, the operating room door opened. "Doctor," they said in unison, "how's our son?" The doctor, exhausted and sweaty, replied, "We've stabilized Mr. Worthington for now." They sighed in relief. "But," the doctor continued, "the head injury was severe. We relieved pressure on his brain, He's in a coma and under critical observation in the ICU. Mrs. Eleanor nearly collapsed, steadied by her husband. Coma? For how long? Arthur asked. We can't say. Days, weeks, maybe months. But we're doing everything we can. Mrs. Eleanor gripped her rosary tighter, her voice firm. Do everything possible. I survived cancer. He can survive this. I won't lose my son. Late that night, Mrs. Eleanor found herself in the hospital's small chapel. The cross's light was the only illumination in the dim space. She knelt, tears in her eyes, praying for the first time in years. Lord, he's my only son. Take everything, just not him. Her prayer was silent, but her heart pounded. She didn't notice someone enter behind her, Diane, in her old uniform, carrying a small candle. She placed it before the altar and knelt quietly. Diane noticed the crying woman and felt her pain. Ma'am, are you okay? She asked softly. Mrs. Eleanor looked up, eyes red. No, not really. Diane sat beside her, not as an employee or a poor woman, but as a fellow human. If you want, I can pray with you for a bit. Mrs. Eleanor nodded silently. Then she asked, What's your name? Diane, Ma'am. What are you praying for, Diane? Diane hesitated. I pray I can go to California for a fresh start. Mrs. Eleanor closed her eyes. Pray with me, Diane. Let's pray together. And they prayed, from different worlds with different goals, but with weary, hopeful hearts. Days passed, and Ryan remained in the ICU, still unconscious. Mrs. Eleanor visited daily, talking to him. Ryan, can you hear me? Please wake up. I can't lose you. Diane continued her janitorial work, often noticing Mrs. Eleanor praying in the chapel. Sometimes she'd offer her water or sit quietly beside her. She didn't know Mrs. Eleanor's son was the man in the accident, nor that his room was just down the hall she cleaned. Whenever she heard Mrs. Eleanor's sobs or saw her clutching her rosary, Diane prayed silently, Lord, if I can't go to California, please guide them. Don't abandon their son. One quiet night, Mrs. Eleanor dozed in the ICU, holding Ryan's hand. Mr. Arthur sat beside her, comforting her. Suddenly, Ryan's fingers twitched. Arthur, did you feel that? Mrs. Eleanor gasped. His hand moved again, and slowly, his eyes opened. Ralph! Nurses rushed in, calling the doctor. The room buzzed with activity as they checked the newly awakened Ryan. But when he opened his eyes, he didn't move. Doc, I can't see anything, he said, frowning. It's dark. Everything's dark. Why? He began to shout, like a lost child, hitting the bed and pulling off his oxygen tube, trying to stand. Calm down, Ryan. It's okay, Mrs. Eleanor said, embracing him. Mom, I can't see, he cried, voice trembling. The doctor intervened. Based on the CT scan and trauma, it's possible Mr. Worthington's visual nerves were affected. For now, he may be blind. Mrs. Eleanor collapsed beside the bed, devastated. Outside, while cleaning the hallway, Diane heard the commotion from the ICU, shouting, crying, crashing. She gripped her mop and whispered, Lord, guide them, strengthen them, take care of them. In the midst of silence and sorrow, a new chapter began. The hospital was always awake, but for Diane, each day felt like a repeated question. Can I keep enduring for a sliver of hope? One afternoon, while hurriedly mopping the staff break room, laughter erupted from a group of fellow janitors. Hey, Diane, said Melissa, chewing bread. Is it true what Vanessa said? You're trusted to care for Mrs. Worthington's blind son? A male co-worker chimed in. Just take care of the blind son. Suits you, you're just a cleaner. They all laughed. Another added, If he saw you, he'd go blinder. Diane froze, clutching the wet mop, tears welling. She held them back. She didn't understand their words. They didn't know her struggles. In the corner, Mrs. Eleanor sat quietly, unnoticed by the staff. watching the young woman being belittled, the same one she'd prayed with. Hours later, Diane was called to the hospital director's office. Mrs. Eleanor was there, composed but with traces of worry. "Sit down," she said. Diane obeyed silently. "I didn't like what I heard earlier," Mrs. Eleanor began. "No one has the right to belittle your work, no matter how low they think it is. Cleaning isn't just important, it's honorable." Diane looked at her rough, scarred hands. "I'm just human, ma'am. I'm used to being laughed at." Mrs. Eleanor opened a folder, revealing a contract and a question. "Care for my son," she said. "In return, $3 million. Diane gasped. "$3 million?" Mrs. Eleanor nodded. "He needs someone with compassion, not a nurse or therapist, but someone with a true heart. You're a simple woman, but among everyone in this hospital, you showed care, even when you didn't know who I was crying for in the chapel." Diane paled, staring at the contract. One name stood out: Raphael Ryan Worthington. Blind, Mrs. Eleanor's son. The reason for her prayers, now offering money Diane never imagined holding. "But ma'am, I don't know anything about caregiving. I have no experience." "I don't need experience," Mrs. Eleanor replied softly. "I need sincerity, and I've seen that in you." Diane hesitated. $3 million. She could go to California. Maybe she wouldn't even need to. Slowly, she set aside her fears. She had no luxuries in life, but she had dreams. The Worthington mansion was like another world. Gold railings, marble floors, chandeliers in every hallway. Even Diane's breath felt stifled by fear and nerves. "Where will I sleep?" she asked the butler. "There's a guest room across from Sir Ryan's. It has an intercom so you can reach him quickly if needed." Her heart raced. Before entering Ryan's room, she recalled Mrs. Eleanor's words. "He's not talkative. He gets angry since losing his sight, but he's still my son. I hope you can soften his heart somehow." As she opened the door, the scent of expensive cologne mixed with hospital and medicine hit her. Ryan sat on the bed, strikingly handsome, fair-skinned, with thick brows. Though his eyes couldn't see, they seemed to hold untold stories. "Who's there?" he asked coldly. Diane froze, captivated by his charisma despite his blindness. "It's me, Diane. I'm your caregiver." "Caregiver?" Ryan scoffed. "Why do I need one?" "I'm not a vegetable." "It's not like that," she replied softly. "Your family just wants you to have someone, a companion." Silence. Then Ryan laughed bitterly. "Bad luck for you, caring for a blind, grumpy, broken man." Diane didn't leave. She nodded and said firmly, "I'm not looking for luck. If you need me, I'm here." In that room, a quiet but gentle connection began between two wounded souls, one who lost his sight, the other who hadn't seen the world clearly in years. Diane woke early the next day, unaccustomed to the soft mattress or the silence of an air-conditioned room. She was used to a simple bed, street noise, and the smell of diner food. Now only the tick of an expensive clock and fresh linen surrounded her. She wore a new uniform, not for cleaning, but a simple blouse and skirt tailored by Mrs. Eleanor. "Even as a caregiver, I want you to look dignified," she'd said. Carrying a breakfast tray, Diane entered Ryan's room. He was awake, sitting on the bed, staring into nothingness. "Coffee," she said softly. "I thought you were a caregiver, not a waitress," he replied sarcastically. Diane didn't show annoyance. She carefully set the tray on a nearby table. "Don't want coffee, sir. I can get milk or juice." "What color's the tray?" Ryan asked, catching her off guard. "The tray's color?" she repeated. "I know you won't get it. People think when you're blind, you're brainless too." Diane forced herself to respond. "It's green, sir. Green and white." "Good. At least you're not clueless," Ryan said. Diane smiled faintly. "If the tray's green, I'm in a good mood because it's my favorite color. She didn't know why she said it. Maybe to ease the tension. Silence followed. Turning, she noticed a cracked picture frame on a cabinet. She picked it up, wiping it clean. A photo of a young Ryan, maybe 7, arm around his friends, smiling warmly. "Don't touch that," Ryan snapped, sensing her movement despite his blindness. "Sorry, sir, there was just broken glass." "Leave it, I'm used to broken things." She set the photo aside and picked up his medicine. "Time for your pills." Ryan didn't move. "I'm not taking pills I can't see." "They're labeled bupropion for body pain," she said. He laughed, bitter and low. "Body pain relief? Is there a pill for a broken soul?" Diane paused, wanting to say she knew pain, loss, and praying nightly, with no certainty anyone listened. Instead, she said, "No pill for that, but there's prayer." Ryan froze. "Prayer?" he mocked. "The kind you cry in the chapel?" Diane turned. "How'd you know?" "Mom told me. She bragged about how faithful you are." Unsure if it was an insult or a joke, Diane smiled. "If praying helps, I hope it helps you too." Days passed like a constant question of whether Diane would last. Ryan remained harsh, cold, and distant. Sometimes, he deliberately spilled water to see who'd get blamed. Other times, he ignored questions or stayed so quiet it felt like he was plotting something. But Diane didn't back down. She stayed calm when scolded, smiled each morning, and brought his favorite chocolate in the afternoons, even if he didn't eat. "Why do you do this?" Ryan asked one night as she gave him vitamins. "Because you need someone, and I need this job." "Just a job?" Diane nodded, but in her heart, pity was growing, not for his blindness, but for the sadness in his voice. It wasn't pain weighing Ryan down, but a silent distrust of the world. Each time her hand touched his arm, she felt a mix of warmth and coldness, a heart struggling to open. One night, a power outage silenced the mansion's machines, leaving only emergency lights. Ryan woke, panicked. "Why is it so quiet?" "Power outage, sir. I'm here," Diane said. "Don't leave me," he whispered, almost inaudible. "I won't," she replied, sitting by his bed and holding his hand. "Why are you like this?" he asked softly. "So kind. You don't know me, but you're here. It's like even though I'm blind, you're the one who doesn't leave." Diane didn't answer, but her grip tightened, a silent promise not to hurt him. In that darkness and silence, Diane felt Ryan's heart wasn't fully closed. Maybe, just maybe, it was learning to beat again. Whispers spread through the mansion, kitchen, storage, garden, where Diane and Ryan often walked in the afternoons. That hand-holding with the blind son, maybe it's more than care. You know, a man and a woman under one roof. The gossip was like smoke, unstoppable. But Diane remained steadfast, ignoring the murmurs. She knew her bond with Ryan was deep, complex, beyond the understanding of onlookers. "Why do you do this, Diane?" Ryan asked one day as they walked by the garden pond, her guiding him though he barely used his cane. "What?" she replied, steadying his steps. "This, being with me every day, every step, meal, walk, breath. You're like my shadow." Diane paused, looking at the koi fish as sunlight danced on Ryan's face. "Because I want you to live again, not just exist, but truly live." "I have no eyes. How?" "You have a heart, a mind, courage." Ryan fell silent. For the first time, his lips had no retort, but his embrace of the air showed feelings awakening, unnamed but stirring. One day, Ryan spoke to his parents. "I want to go back to work." Mrs. Eleanor and Mr. Arthur exchanged glances. "Son, you don't need to push yourself. You're wealthy, you have people to manage things." "I'm not blind inside, Only my eyes are. I'm not useless. Mrs. Eleanor hesitated but agreed. If that's what you want, we'll support you, but you'll need a guide. I have Diane. From then on, Ryan grew more active. He was given a home office with audio software for reports and voice-to-text for emails. Diane was always by his side, his eyes, but more than that, his anchor. She accompanied him to presentations, trips to San Francisco, Miami, or just around Chicago. Her hand was always there, guiding him through the darkness. Their unspoken connection deepened with each journey. One chilly night on a hotel rooftop in Aspen during a business convention, Ryan sipped hot chocolate and asked, "If you weren't caring for me, where would you be?" "Probably in California, working in a factory, far from this view," Diane said. "This view, the night, lights, breeze, silence, things you can't see but feel." Ryan took a deep breath. "I don't want to imagine what you look like." "Why not?" "Because when I don't know your face, I feel you more. I don't need eyes to know how good you are." Diane's heart raced, but she hid it with a smile. Back in Chicago, the mansion's gossip grew louder. "They're developing something. It's not just caregiving, maybe a love story." Diane only smiled when asked, saying, "He's just a friend." Ryan, teased by nurses or family friends, would say, "I'm blind. What could she see in me?" Yet, in quiet nights, Mrs. Eleanor often caught Ryan smiling as Diane told stories. "Keep talking," he'd say, lying in bed. "Anything, as long as it's from you." Diane shared her dreams, her simple life, and as she spoke, she felt they were walking a path, not yet love, but more than friendship, filled with feeling, silence, and dreams. One night, as Diane wiped sweat from Ryan after physical therapy, he looked toward her. "Why don't you run from me?" "Why would I?" "Because I have nothing to offer. No sight, no vision." Diane smiled. "You may not have eyes, but you have direction. You may not see, but you know how to listen. And for everything you lack, I'm here to fill it." Ryan's world paused at her words. In the silence, their heartbeats were fast, uncertain, but true. With Diane's help, Ryan grew vibrant again, returning to meetings, business events, mall walks, and art exhibits. Though he couldn't see, he felt the world through her. One Saturday afternoon, Ryan was invited as an honorary speaker at a social entrepreneurs event. Despite his blindness, he was still respected in business innovation. He accepted on the condition Diane came along. As she helped him button his white polo, she asked, "Ready?" "I don't know," he replied. "But with you, I don't need to be ready. I know you'll catch me." At the event, the crowd was bright, noisy, and packed. Cameras flashed, reporters called, "Ryan, over here!" Diane held his arm, shielding him from the pushing crowd. But in a moment of confusion, a cameraman stepped back, unaware of Ryan approaching. Ryan collided with him, losing Diane's grip, and hit the stage's edge. Everything went dark for everyone, especially Diane. "Ryan!" Diane rushed to him, now sitting on the concrete, knees shaking. Chaos erupted, but Ryan heard only her voice. "Ryan, it's me. I've got your hand. Don't be scared." He gripped her tightly, trembling. "I thought you'd leave." "I won't," she said. In the ambulance, she held his hand as medics checked him. His tension wasn't from injuries, but fear of sinking back into nothingness. At the hospital, Ryan had no fractures, just bruises and muscle pain. "Avoid crowded places for now," the doctor advised. Back at the mansion, Diane stayed by his side. For days, he was quiet, his usual spark gone. One night, as she changed his compress, he spoke. "I thought I was okay, but in one moment I felt useless again." Diane held his hand. "You don't need to be strong every day. I'm trying to be okay for you too." Ryan looked toward her voice. Can I rest on you, just for one night? Diane sat by his bed, holding his hand. As the mansion slept, Ryan lay with his head on her shoulder. The next morning, Mrs. Eleanor saw them on the veranda, Ryan smiling again, Diane gazing at the sky, as if giving thanks. Thank you for not leaving, Ryan whispered. You're why I didn't think of leaving, Diane replied. Clouds loomed as they arrived at the hospital. No rain, but it threatened to fall. Ryan was quiet, Diane guiding his arm gently. Each step carried a nervous heartbeat, not just for him, but for Diane, who forced a smile despite her own struggles. Mr. Worthington, please proceed to ophthalmology diagnostics, a nurse announced. In the clinic, a calm silence enveloped them. A new kind for Ryan, not emptiness but quiet hope. He underwent tests, questions, lights shone in his eyes. During one he spoke. Doc, I saw a flash, like light. The doctor paused, checking the screen. Flashes of light? Are you sure? I'm not sure, but it felt like it. The doctor confirmed the readings. This is a good sign, Mr. Worthington. The nerve damage may not be total. There's a weak signal, but it's there. Ryan gripped the chair. What does that mean? It means there's a chance to restore your vision with the right procedure, if your body responds. Mrs. Eleanor Teary smiled. Ryan, did you hear that? Ryan nodded toward her voice. I might see again. Tears fell as Mrs. Eleanor and Mr. Arthur exhaled, but the doctor added, It won't be immediate. Your body needs to stabilize. We need more observation before surgery. The air grew heavy. Ryan gripped the chair. Wait again? Haven't I waited long enough? Mr. Worthington, it's not just about your sight. Your nervous system needs preparation, or we risk losing what's returning. Ryan stood abruptly. I'm done waiting. I'm done with promises. Ryan! Diane called, but he stormed out of the clinic. His parents followed, and Diane started too, but the doctor stopped her. Miss, have you checked that arm? Diane, startled, noticed a bruise on her left arm from the stage incident weeks ago. She covered it. It's nothing. I insist, the doctor said seriously. The Worthingtons own most of this hospital. We can refer you to oncology, just to be safe. Diane swallowed and nodded. Thank you, I'll follow up. A nurse peeked in. Miss Diane, Sir Ryan is asking for you. She smiled, pushing aside fear and donning courage for the man who needed her. At the mansion, the veranda was quiet. Ryan sat, holding a coffee mug, staring into nothingness, yet his voice held hope. Diane, he whispered, do you think I'll be okay? She sat beside him, feeling the breeze. The sky was tinged blue behind clouds. I don't know when, she said, but I believe you'll be okay because you're stronger than I thought. Ryan laughed softly. I'm not strong. I'm scared the surgery might fail, and I'll never see again. He took a deep breath. But you know what scares me more? Waking up, and you're gone. Diane's heart paused, but she smiled faintly. I won't leave you. As long as you want me, I'm here. They sat in silence until Ryan spoke softly but clearly. I want to see you smile, Diane. I want to see your face, your eyes always watching me. I want to see you. Under the dusk, as the sky shifted colors, and a cool breeze brushed their skin, some things didn't need saying. It wasn't yet love's start, but it was a moment they no longer denied the deep bond they held, light, trust, and a quiet but true feeling. Ralph, want to go out this afternoon? Diane offered gently, kneeling to tie his shoes. Ryan's face, though tired, showed hope. The park again? Yeah, by the grass. You like the breeze there, right? It's quieter. I like it as long as you're with me, Ryan said, a slight smile forming. Diane smiled back, full but forced, her grip on his arm tight, not just to guide him, but to support her weakening body. Each step felt like a thread unraveling in her waist. Pain clawed at her hips, spine, and legs. It wasn't just fatigue. She knew something was wrong. For weeks she'd ignored the truth, thinking it was just exhaustion from caring for Ryan. But the bruises, paleness, pain, and blood-tinged coughs grew. One day, guiding Ryan downstairs, he slipped, gripping her arm tightly. Diane gasped, eyes wide with pain. She didn't cry, but it felt like a stab. "Did that hurt? Sorry, I didn't know how tight I was holding," Ryan said, worried. Diane bit her lip, hiding the pain. "It's fine. You just stepped on my shoe," she lied, forcing a smile. But her arm was covered in red bruises, each touch a reminder of the pain she refused to face. No one noticed, not the staff, not Mrs. Eleanor, not Ryan. Diane was a silent witness to her own collapse, refusing to burden anyone. Some days she couldn't rise from bed, racked by fever, chills, coughs, and joint pain. Yet she forced herself up, knowing someone in the next room depended on her. "Okay, Diane," Mrs. Eleanor asked, noticing her paleness as she stacked cups. "Yes, ma'am. Just short on sleep. I'm not neglecting my work," Diane replied quickly, eyes down to hide her exhaustion. But in her room's drawer was a letter from the hospital's oncology department. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia, stage 2. In the garden, as she guided Ryan, his touch on her shoulder, waist, or hand brought bittersweet pain, not just physical, but emotional. She fought on, her smile sweeter when he leaned on her. She couldn't show weakness, couldn't give in. "Diane," Ryan said one night on the veranda, the wind rustling the plants, "how do you do it?" "Do what?" she asked, a faint fear in her voice. "Always laughing, staying strong. Your light while I'm still in darkness." She looked at the sky, drawing strength from the stars and moon. "Because I believe everything has a purpose. If I can be your eyes, even briefly, I'll do it as long as I can." Ryan didn't reply, but Diane noticed tears in his eyes, his occasional squeeze of her hand. She didn't know why he cried, but she too wanted to weep. If only she could, if only she didn't need to be strong. Days later, Mrs. Eleanor spoke to her in the living room. "Diane, you've helped Ryan so much. His surgery's soon. It's time you rested." Diane forced a smile. "If it's okay, I'd like to stay. My duty isn't done. I can't leave Ryan." Mrs. Eleanor looked puzzled. "Don't you get tired?" Diane sighed. "It's tiring, but I can't not guide him. Not now. Not while he can't see." From the hallway's shadows, Ryan overheard, his chest heavy with a growing fear he couldn't name. That night, Diane lay in her room, coughing deeply, blood on her handkerchief, thick, red, heavy. She didn't cry out or ask for help. She cleaned herself, knelt by her bed, and prayed. "Lord, let me stay a little longer. Ryan needs me. I can't let go yet. Ryan, if I'm important to you, if you want us to start anew, to see the world, please try, get your eyes treated," she said, under a mango tree in the backyard, kneeling before him, holding his hand tightly. "Why do you want me to see the world, Diane?" Ryan asked softly. "Because you're my world." Diane bit her lip, nervous, knowing her days were fading like a candle on her prayer altar. "If I vanish someday, I want you to have seen me with your own eyes, not for my guidance or voice, but because you fought for yourself, for us." Ryan's grip tightened. For seconds the air grew heavy, but he nodded. "I'll do it because I want to see you too." Diane woke early, despite fever and trembling legs, and took Ryan to the hospital. She hid her pain, her heart pounding, breathing difficult. "Ready?" she asked as they awaited the doctor. Ryan smiled. "I don't know what I'll see first, but I know who I want to see." Diane nodded, unable to speak, her chest whispering, "I hope I can hold on." Post-surgery, Ryan's world was dark, then light, shadows moving, light like sun through clouds. Slowly, it cleared. Before him was a familiar face, gentle eyes, pale lips, trembling. "Diane," he whispered, disbelieving. "Is that you?" She smiled, tears falling. "Yes, Ryan, it's me. You can see me now." Ryan's tears fell. He wanted to embrace her, but her face paled suddenly. She dropped the flowers she held, collapsing before he could move. "Diane!" he shouted, standing, searching for her voice. Now, with sight, he saw her fully as she fell. Doctors rushed in. Severe hemoglobin drop, possible internal bleeding, history of leukemia. Ryan overheard, frozen, clutching himself as he watched Diane through the ICU's glass. Now he saw her clearly, and now he learned true fear. "Lord, not yet. My life just gained color. Don't take her away." That night, Ryan couldn't stay still. Despite his new sight, the future felt blind. He walked to Diane's room, carrying the flowers she hadn't given him, placing them on her table, gently holding her sleeping hand. "Why didn't you tell me?" he whispered. "Why did you bear it alone?" Diane remained silent, her face peaceful, yet resilient. "Open your eyes, Diane. I'll be your light now." For the first time, Ryan became the guide. The first night after his surgery wasn't joyful. Sight returned, but fear and dread filled his heart. Diane remained unconscious in the ICU, tubes in her nose, needles in her hand, under harsh white light that gave Ryan a new kind of darkness. He saw her body clearly, pale, thin, bruised on her arms, neck, legs. He'd thought her exhaustion was from overwork, not a life sacrificed for him. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia, stage 2 to 3 progression, the doctor explained to Ryan and Mrs. Eleanor the next day. "How long has she had it?" Mrs. Eleanor asked, shocked. "Based on records for a while, but she didn't pursue chemotherapy, choosing to keep it secret." Ryan's knees buckled, his heart screaming. Why didn't I notice? Why did I only see her fully now? By Diane's bed, he sat silently, watching each second of her sleep, tears falling. "Now that I can see you," he whispered, "why does it feel like I'd rather close my eyes again? I see your sacrifice now, and now I might lose you." He adjusted her blanket, placed the wilted flowers closer, wiped her face with a cloth, and applied lotion to her dry hands. "Diane, it's my turn now." Diane's condition didn't improve. Some days she woke, others she didn't. Her blood counts often dropped, with little chance of reversing the disease. No one could say if she had weeks or days left. Ryan, once the cared for, now stayed by her side, barely leaving the hospital. Mrs. Eleanor arranged a temporary room there. He brought her medicine each morning, helped her sleep each night, thinking, "I can do this. I can care for her. Just don't let her go." One night, Diane woke, machines beeping softly. Her voice was weak, but her eyes were open, finding the face beside her. "Ryan," she whispered. He rushed to her. "You're awake." She smiled faintly. "You're really handsome." Her laugh was voiceless. Ryan smiled, then cried, "Why didn't you tell me? Why did you endure it alone?" "I thought my time was up. I didn't want to hurt you or be a burden." Ryan shook his head. "Don't you know? Every step I took, you were my strength, my light. Now I'm here to hold you, to be your strength." Diane's tears fell. "Is that okay, even if I have no strength left?" "I don't need your strength. I need you." Doctors weren't sure if Diane would survive. She needed urgent chemotherapy, but her body was weak. An experimental treatment was an option, risky with no guarantees. "Whatever it takes, do it," Ryan said, "as long as there's hope." The doctor looked at him. "There's hope, but no promises." Ryan nodded. I don't need promises. I need her. One more chance. Diane, Ryan whispered, if you fight, I'll fight too. We're in this together. For the first time, even in her weakness, Diane saw herself in Ryan's eyes, not as a patient or caregiver, but as a woman wholly loved. The hum of a private jet was like waves in the air, not loud, but not silent. Inside, Diane lay on a special bed, Ryan holding her hand. Despite her pale skin and yellowish eyes, her smile was faint but whole. We made it, Ryan whispered, adjusting her blanket. This is the most advanced hospital in Europe. Everything you need is here. Diane didn't speak, but squeezed his hand. 1, 2 times, as if saying, thank you, I'll fight. Intensive treatment began. Chemo, blood transfusions, preparation for a stem cell transplant. Sometimes Diane couldn't rise from the pain, dizzy, nauseous, feverish. But she wasn't alone. Mrs. Eleanor herself joined them. For the first time, her voice and heart softened. One rainy night, she entered Diane's room and sat by her bed. Diane, she called softly. Diane opened her eyes. Mrs. Eleanor. The older woman took her hand, squeezing it, and looked into her eyes. Did you know I'm a cancer survivor too? She asked gently. Diane's eyes widened. Really? Yes, years ago. Breast cancer, stage 2. I thought it was the end, but I didn't give up. Diane's tears fell, unaware of the strength behind Mrs. Eleanor's poised demeanor. I'm scared, Diane admitted. That's natural, Mrs. Eleanor said. But I learned one thing. The body may weaken, but the heart is the last to surrender. Fight, dear, not just for you, but for those who love you. Diane hugged her tightly, no trace of formality, just raw emotion. The room was quiet, the window open, letting in Europe's cool breeze. Ryan sat by Diane, wiping sweat from her forehead. Ralph, she whispered, if I don't make it, don't go on. Listen, Ryan interrupted, voice trembling. Don't give up. I want you to know I have no regrets choosing you to care for, seeing you even when you couldn't see me. I want you to remember me, not for my illness, but for my love. Ryan's tears fell as he kissed her hand. I'll never forget you. I won't let you go. If I could take your pain, I would have long ago. As long as you have breath, a pulse, I believe there's hope, a tomorrow. His tears touched her palm, soft and true. The medical team prepared for the stem cell transplant. Mrs. Eleanor prayed quietly in the hospital chapel. Ryan paced the hallway, battling nerves, recalling Diane's voice, their walks, her touch, her smiles, the pain he didn't understand then, but did now. He loved her, wholly, without doubt. As Diane was prepped, she whispered, Lord, one more chance. Weeks passed in the quiet hospital, machines monitoring her every breath, heartbeat. Each day, Ryan carried the weight of worry, praying silently for a miracle. Diane lay in a sterile room, sunlight filtering softly through the windows. Ryan sat by her, holding her hand tightly. Mrs. Eleanor stood outside, gathering strength for important words. Diane, Ralph, the doctor said softly, holding a folder of test results. I have good news, but we need to discuss your condition fully. Diane looked at Ryan, her eyes a mix of hope and fear. Your bone marrow biopsy shows good acceptance of the stem cell transplant. No rejection. Your body's starting to produce healthy blood cells, a big step toward recovery. Diane closed her eyes, letting tears win over her restraint. She hadn't expected such news. Each day had been filled with fear, but now a light pierced the deep darkness. The doctor continued, more serious. But we're not done, Diane. You need ongoing chemotherapy and close monitoring due to high complication risks. The fight continues, and we need patience. Diane leaned back, the weight of reality returning. She looked at Ryan, whose eyes burned with determination. "I won't leave you, Diane. We're in this until you're fully healed. We won't give up." He gripped her hand, passing all his strength and hope. "Thank you, Ryan," Diane whispered, regret in her voice. "Thank you, Mrs. Eleanor." Mrs. Eleanor hugged her like a mother protecting her child. "You're not alone, dear. We're always with you." Days passed with continued treatment. Some days Diane was weak, her body not her own, but seeing Ryan smile amid trials reignited her courage. One night, as she rested, Ryan sat by her, holding her cold hand. "Diane," he said softly, "I know it's hard, but I'm here for you every moment." Diane teared up, unable to speak, hugging him tightly as her only anchor in the storm. Despite the pain, there was hope. The fight wasn't over, but each small victory sparked new light. Ralph's touch, Mrs. Eleanor's smiles, like flames of love, built a promise of dawn after a dark night. After grueling days of surgery, chemotherapy, and stem cell treatment, Diane's long recovery began. It wasn't easy, a mountain of pain, fear, and doubt. Yet hope flickered. In the early weeks, she felt dizzy, exhausted, and breathless. Waking each day reminded her of the disease's weight. Some mornings, she could barely rise, needing hands to steady her. Often, she shook her head at herself, feeling alone in her battle despite the people around her. But she was never truly alone. Ryan, no longer just a patient but her strength and inspiration, was always there, quiet but steadfast, holding her hand, embracing her fears and weaknesses. "Diane," Ryan's voice was soft but firm by her bed. "You don't need to rush. I'm with you every step." Her tears fell, unable to explain this love, this care like a light on her dark path. One night, lying in the dim hospital room, holding Ryan's hand as he soothed her, she smiled despite her weakness, hearing his gentle hum. "I won't abandon you," he said, her heart breaking at the words. She felt lucky to have someone willing to sacrifice, a beacon in her darkness. But confusion and sadness lingered. Some moments she crumbled under the disease's weight. Alone by the window, she gazed at the pale moon, tears falling silently. "Why me?" she whispered. "Why was I denied health? How many more years must I fight this?" Once Mrs. Eleanor caught her crying. Instead of scolding, she hugged her tightly. "I know it's hard, dear," she said, tears in her eyes. "But we're here, and I believe you'll heal, like I fought my battle." Diane smiled, her courage returning, a reminder she wasn't alone. Ryan returned with hot tea. "Look, Diane, the sun always follows the night, like hope follows darkness." Her tears fell. "Thank you, Ryan. Without you, I don't know how I'd manage." As days passed, Diane felt her body and heart slowly strengthen. Walking alone was still hard, but Ryan caught her, caring with all his heart. One afternoon on the hospital veranda, he noticed a spark in her eyes. "You're looking better," he said, holding her hand. "Yes, slowly healing," she replied, hope in her voice. But fear lingered. Each day they wondered if her body could endure more tests. She trembled before checkups, but Ryan gave her courage. One night on the veranda, their emotions poured out. "Ryan," Diane said, "don't you get tired of me?" He shook his head, holding back tears. "I'll never abandon you. I'll care for you to the end." They held hands, facing fears together. Diane learned healing wasn't just physical. It was about acceptance, love, and hope. Her body grew stronger, but her heart grew most. She was never alone. Each day, hope flickered brighter, a new beginning in the darkness. Ralph and Diane's wedding day arrived like a beautiful dream come true. After their fierce battle with life, the sky was clear, blue, and radiant. mirroring the joy in everyone's hearts. The Worthington mansion was adorned with white and pink roses, elegant decorations reflecting happiness and hope. Diane, in a white gown with intricate embroidery, glowed with beauty beyond her imagination. She was healed, her eyes sparkling, not with tears of pain but with joy and hope. Beside her, Ryan, in a tailored suit, looked like a prince in his own story. As Diane walked down the aisle, holding her father's arm, each step carried memories, nights of weakness, moments Ryan was her rock, prayers for a miracle. Ryan stood at the altar, his smile hiding nerves, recalling their first meeting, the moments that shaped their friendship and love. In his heart was a vow never to let Diane go. Seeing Ryan, Diane's tears deepened, not from fear but overwhelming love. In his eyes, she saw her hope, their struggles, and his promise never to leave. "I'm ready to be with you forever," she whispered, approaching. "I'm so ready, Ryan." The ceremony held prayers and blessings from their godparents. Mrs. Eleanor, emotional, spoke. "My children, despite all trials, I've seen you choose love and hope. May you guide each other every day." Diane, listening, recalled days of pain, tears, and fear. But now they bore fruit, a beautiful beginning. "I thought I'd lose my light," she whispered, "but now I feel a brighter one." They exchanged rings, symbols of eternal vows. As Ryan slid the ring on Diane's finger, her heart leapt. In his eyes, she saw a promise of healing love. "I see you, Diane," Ryan said softly, "not just with my eyes, but with my heart and soul. I'll stand by you, care for you, love you forever." Before their loved ones, they said, "I do," vowing to face hardship and joy together. After the ceremony, Mr. Leo, the mansion's elderly gardener, offered Diane an umbrella as they passed the garden. "For you, miss, so you don't get wet, I know today's special." Diane smiled, taking the umbrella as if it answered her secret fear of rain. At the reception, guests reveled in a lively feast. Children laughed on the lawn, music filled the air with joy. While dancing, Ryan noticed Mrs. Mary, the longtime housekeeper who was like a second mother to Diane. He squeezed her hand. "Thank you, Mrs. Mary, for everything. We wouldn't be here without you." Mrs. Mary smiled. "You were Diane's light. Now she's yours." Mrs. Eleanor approached, hugging Diane tightly. "I was worried when I visited you in the hospital, but now I'm overjoyed to see you so strong. You're our inspiration." Diane cried, feeling the love and gratitude. In the crowd, Ryan hugged Diane tightly. "Thank you for your patience, your strength, your love. I never thought I'd see this." Diane smiled, holding his hand. "And thank you for being my light in the dark." As night fell, fireworks lit the sky, symbols of their new beginning. Each burst a promise that their light would never fade. Mr. John, Ryan's close friend, raised a toast. "To Ralph and Diane's new life, may your love be as strong as the sturdiest tree, unshaken by any storm." Guests cheered, joy exploding in the air. On the quiet veranda later, Ralph and Diane talked, hands entwined. "You know," Ryan said, "I don't just want to be with you. I want to see every smile, tear, and story of your life." Diane looked at him closely. "And I want to be with you in every journey, light or dark." Their story didn't end in pain or tears, but in love, hope, and a future full of dreams. Hand in hand, they began their new life, knowing they could face any challenge together. Months after their wedding, Ralph and Diane entered a new world, parenthood. It wasn't the fairy tale they might have expected, but a roller coaster of joy, late nights, and moments that made them laugh and cry from exhaustion. In the Worthington mansion's kitchen one early morning, Diane fried eggs, while Ryan prepared milk for their baby, Leah, their little angel who followed no schedule. "Ralph, that milk's too hot. You'll burn, Leah," Diane called from the other room. "Chill, we're not cooking stew, just eggs," Ryan teased, checking the bottle. Suddenly, Leah cried from her room. They rushed, almost racing to the nursery. "Okay, Papa Ralph's here," Ryan said, trying to hide his nerves. In the nursery, Diane found Ryan sprawled on the floor, exhausted. "Papa, what are you doing down there?" she asked, grabbing Leah. "I thought I had her, but it was just the bottle on my head," Ryan said, sheepish. Diane smiled, taking the baby. "I'll handle her. You might fall over." "Thanks, love. I don't know how mums do this every day," Ryan said, marveling. As Diane changed Leah's diaper, the baby wailed. From the living room, Mrs. Mary shouted, "What's that noise? Am I the only one awake?" "Just Leah, Mrs. Mary, she hates diapers," Diane replied, working like she was in a war zone. "Sounds like you," Mrs. Mary teased. They laughed, but Leah wailed again. "Here we go, the wake-up call," Ryan said, grabbing milk. After an hour, Leah slept, temporarily, as she'd soon wake again. "This is the real reality show," Ryan said, holding her, eyes drooping. "Not The Bachelor where everything's perfect." Diane smiled, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. In the following weeks, they experienced parenthood's firsts, Leah's first laugh, smile, and tummy ache that shook the house. One night, changing Leah's diaper, Diane noticed a foul smell. "Ralph, her diaper exploded," she called. "Can we say it just boomed?" Ryan replied, startled. They cleaned up, laughing through their exhaustion. Tender moments balanced the chaos. Ryan woke early to cook Diane's favorite dish, tending to Leah. "You're so sweet," Diane said, forgetting her fatigue. "I wasn't good at this before, but for you both, I'll do it," Ryan said proudly. One night, as Leah slept beside them, they talked in the dark. "You know, I used to struggle imagining the future," Diane said, "but seeing Leah, I learned the future isn't just for me." "Yeah," Ryan agreed. "She's made life more meaningful, even if it's hard. It's worth it." They hugged tightly, love growing in their family. Mrs. Eleanor visited, bringing a basket of food. "Wow, a lot's happened here," she teased, watching Leah. "What's the secret to new parents?" Ryan asked, adjusting the crib. "Patience and coffee," she laughed. They all chuckled, forgetting their exhaustion for a moment. Each day they grew stronger, more patient, and more loving. Parenthood was full of laughter, tears, and frustration, but love was their light. Watching Diane walk Leah in the garden, Ryan thought, "I don't need another world. This one, with you, is enough." Days, weeks, months passed, their life a joyful mess of diapers, milk, and giggles. Though some days they wanted to give up, Leah's smile reminded them, "You've got this." Diane mastered multitasking, holding Leah while cleaning. Ryan became an expert at swaddling and feeding, despite yawning through sleepless nights. One quiet night, as Leah slept soundly, Ralph and Diane sat on the veranda, hands entwined, reflecting. "One day, when Leah's grown," Diane said, "we'll tell her how busy but happy we were." Ryan smiled, "and that we never tired of her, that she's the best thing that happened to us." In their small, peaceful home, Ralph and Diane sat shoulder to shoulder, Leah asleep in their arms. The afternoon sun cast golden rays, the air calm, wind chimes swaying. A neighbor's karaoke rendition of a love song drifted faintly. Diane glanced at Ryan, his nose red, face tired, milk stains on his shoulder from Leah's feeding. To her, he was the handsomest man she'd seen. This wasn't the life she'd imagined after their trials. Not perfect, with sleepless nights, crying fits, burnt breakfasts, unpressed diapers, and days where they only asked, "Have you eaten?" but amidst the chaos was peace, clarity, and indescribable love. Diane gazed at the sky, stroking Leah's back. It wasn't a fairy tale, but it was real, and that was enough. "You're thinking," Ryan said, squeezing her hand. "If you're about to cry, hold off. I'm out of energy to wipe your tears after 4 days without coffee." They laughed, Leah stirring but not waking. "I'm not crying," Diane said, reflective. "Crazy, right? I used to guide you. Now we guide each other, and this little one guides our daily routine." "Literally no routine anymore," Ryan added, pointing to the floor littered with cereal, toys, and a random slipper. They laughed again. In that moment, there was no pain, no past fears, just a simple, breezy, chaotic, happy now. In Diane's mind, she'd written her life's greatest story, not perfect, but chosen through love, fight, and resolve. She didn't know what came next, but one thing was certain. There'd be more laughter, exhaustion, tears, gossip, but also family, love, and coffee. Always coffee. She looked at her husband and daughter. Ryan could see now, but to Diane, his vision of her was clearer than any man she'd known. Leah, their little miracle, was proof of new beginnings after every end. As the sun set and the cool afternoon breeze wrapped around them, Diane felt what she'd long yearned for: peace. Under the stars, a new promise formed: enduring love, patience, and care for each other every day as their little family grew. The end. Thanks for watching. I am your host, Mr. Hope. Until we meet again, take care.